Hey, what up y'all? Mr. Cruz here, your friendly neighborhood producer, back with another video. And in today's video, we are going to get into Smart Comp 2. Let's go. As you guys can kind of see, today's video is going to be different. Actually, this is how I'm going to be doing all of my videos from now on moving forward, not having my face on screen. I'm not like horribly disfigured or anything like that. It's a lot easier for me to make videos and edit them without having to edit like my screen and the camera. So I want to be able to crank out these videos a lot more frequently. So there we go. So if you guys were only watching my videos for the sake of my amazing looking mug, I'm sorry to disappoint. So today's video, we are getting into Smart Comp 2. This is a plugin from Sonible. So with Smart Comp 2, before we get into it, I would highly suggest that you go and watch my Smart Limit video. I'm going to leave a link in the description so you guys can check that out, because if you watch that video and then watch this one, you'll get a lot of context as to how these parameters work. To be honest, compression in the producer community is probably one of those things that is very intimidating. And sometimes you feel like you need a master's in mathematics in order to understand how compression works. So this video is not for that. If you don't understand how to use compression, go watch a couple of other videos, then come back to this. But for now, what we're going to go over is a lot of these parameters and what makes Smart Comp 2 very different and much better than any kind of regular run-of-the-mill compression plugin that you might have. So for starters, we have our user interface here. You have our histogram over here that lets you know how your signal is being read. Up here at the top, we have our learn button. We remember this from our Smart Limit. And then you have a couple of different, not presets, but profiles as to what you want your compression to do. Like, what are you compressing? It gives you a lot of different options here. Typically, you can probably stick with universal for the most part, but the way that I use compression is I either throw it on my drum bus or I throw it on my master channel before it actually hits my limiter or my clipper. So for the sake of this, I'm gonna select drum bus. We're not gonna learn anything yet, but I'm gonna select drum bus. This button right here, selecting this button, turning it on and off will actually go back and forth between the states of what your Smart Comp 2 has learned and the moves that it has made based off of listening to your signal. And if you click it off, right here, it's disengaged. This pretty much means that it'll revert back to its like default. So if you kind of wanted to mess with this, all right, so now I want to mess with the threshold and the ratio, but if I click this, hey, it's going to go back to what it had learned. And now it's back to the moves that I had made. This is actually a super useful thing that I love in the Smart series that I have not seen many, if any, other plugins use. Here you have different save states that you can kind of use. Let's say, hey, number 1 is what I learned. Number 2 can be when I like mess with the threshold. Number 3 could be me playing with the ratio, but keeping the threshold the same. Here you have the delta button. Then the delta button, what it'll do is it'll isolate whatever signal is being compressed. So if you really want to hear clearly what you're compressing, you click the delta button and it'll isolate that. The cool thing about this one though, is I realized that it does mid-side channel processing as well. So this is actually incredibly useful because I don't think I've ever seen a compressor that allows you to do mid-side processing. I'm sure that you can do it. I used to work in Reason, and in Reason you had a lot of flexibility as far as like routing and dragging and dropping things. So the fact that this one kind of has this built into it without you having to do like additional routing stuff, stellar. And then here's where you have your presets as far as like, you know, you can do, hey, I want to do standard compression, I want to do balance, I want to do mid-side, I want to do parallel compression. Cool that it also has a noise gate, because that is super useful, especially when you're recording or editing vocals. Down here at the bottom, again, what we had previously seen with Smart Limit, you have your sound shaping tools. Now your sound shaping tools down here, they cannot be activated outside of using the learn feature. So you have to use the learn feature in order to unlock this. Of course, you could use the learn feature and then reset everything to how you wanted it initially, just so you can open this up. I kind of think that's a little bit weird. Like, why not give this to us just out the gate? But it is what it is. If we can activate this now, you can kind of see what this does. This allows you to control the style of compression, whether you want it to be subtle, clean, or dirty, kind of like really heavy. The spectral comp right here, this knob here controls the intensity of the compression. And then the color kind of adds like a little bit of additional compression as far as like whether you want it to sound a little bit darker or a little bit brighter. This right here is also really cool because it allows you to apply some EQing to it. And you can click this button in order to sidechain. Now I'm going to be straight up, I don't do sidechain compression. I don't use it just because I feel like I've been able to get pretty good mixes, really good mixes actually, without having to use sidechain. So if it's like one less thing that I ever have to learn or worry about, I just kind of stick with, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I personally do not use sidechain compression. Not to say that it doesn't work, because I know plenty of people who use it and swear by it. I'm just not one of those people. But this is really cool that you can apply and add sidechain compression, but also that you can kind of edit and manipulate the EQing and the filtering of your signal. And out of all the things that you're able to manipulate, this is probably one of the cooler things, is this right here. So between attack and release, it really allows you to, I'm gonna turn auto off here for a second. It really gives you a lot of freedom and flexibility to shape how the attack and the release are going to be triggered, or how they're going to manipulate your signal. Also, it has this cool little tempo sync button down here. So instead of going by milliseconds, you can actually sync it to the tempo of your session. And of course, the same thing over here with your attack and your release. You can shape how that attack and release are going to be affecting your signal. And here they have what they call the free form transfer, which also gives you additional leeway. Like I'm talking about, if you are really into compression, this is really what you want. Like you want to be able to manipulate and change how that signal is going to be shaped. So you have a lot of flexibility, and this is actually a real cool thing here. So if you don't want your compression to be like so straightforward, you hit this button right here and then like bam, and then to smooth out how that compression kind of takes form as far as like your audio signal. But in addition to that, you have some templates here. So bam, that's how a noise gate one would be used. Bam, this is how, you know, you're balancing out the mid of your signal. Bam, this is how you kind of turn this into an expander. So a lot of really cool things here that you can use as far as shaping the sound of your compression. But with all that said and done, let's go ahead and like mess around with this, take it for a little test drive. So on this one specifically, I have it going through my drum bus. I'm gonna turn off my parallel compression, and we're just gonna use Smart Comp. And actually, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, they have a right here. So we're gonna select the template for parallel compression, and let's go. So we're gonna hit learn and then play our track. All right, so I know for me personally, I want it to be a little bit more grittier if I'm using parallel compression. All right, so let's check out the delta button so we can hear what is being compressed. All right, that is kind of what I expected because the kick is my loudest instrument in this track. And let's make our compression style a little bit darker. Another thing I forgot to mention is that down here, once you open the sound shaping tools, you can narrow down the frequencies that you want to compress. All right, so I'm really happy with the way that that's sounding right there. It does sound a lot more grittier. I'm gonna bypass it so we can kind of see how it sounded before and after. Okay, and on top of that, I also wanted to throw this on my submix. So what I do with my submix is I usually only do a little bit of compression. I'm ideally going to be looking over here at my meter for my gain reduction meter, and I'm going to be looking for like 1 to 2 dB of gain reduction because this is prior to it hitting my limiter. So I don't want a ton of compression. I don't really want to change or shape the sound too much. I really just want to tame those really high signals that are coming through. So for this one, I am once again going to, actually, let's go to this one. Let's do hip hop mix and let's hit learn. And now let's see how this turns out. I'm also going to turn my limiter off. All right, now let's turn our limiter back on. All All right, so I see here that I'm getting way too much gain reduction, so I'm gonna turn this up some. So there you guys go, Smart Comp 2 from Sonible. Incredibly useful, especially if you're not somebody who is familiar and really knows the ins and outs of compression. If you struggle with knowing, hey, what type of ratio should I have? Hey, where should my threshold be? What should my attack and release look like? This is a plugin for you because it gives you the learn feature, which the learn feature does the work for you. So it's really a time-saving plugin because once it does the moves, you can make your minor adjustments and then move on to the next thing. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Sonible's Smart Comp 2. Also, let me know if you have messed around with any of the other smart series of plugins from Sonible. This one is a paid plugin. This is not a free plugin, so I'm gonna leave a link in the description for you guys to be able to go check them out. I know that they do give you a free trial, and I do believe that the free trial unlocks all of the features so that you can kind of get a good sense of, hey, is this gonna work for you or is it not? That's what I got for you guys today. It's your boy, Mr. Cruz, out. Before I go, I do want to let you guys know about a free course that I have. It is an ebook on how to sell your beat in 7 days. So if you are a producer who is struggling to sell beats, this is for you. It is completely 100% free. I'm giving you all of the gems on how I sell beats consistently. So this is strictly for you just because I like you. Hit the link in the description and go download that course today. Peace out.